Us humans, we like to hear about the big success stories. We like to hear about those big turning points for sure. But there's the little things that we stack up daily that have more of an impact than we think. What matters most is usually the little dumb shit you do day over day over day.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg. The reason that I've even started this show and why I do this show, as many of you know, is I just kind of like to meet cool people. People that I wouldn't normally meet. I always find it interesting, you know, when you walk down the street and every person that you happen to walk past, they've got a whole story behind them. And if you kind of never take the time to talk to them and get to know them and kind of hear the stuff that's gone on in their lives, good or bad, you just kind of don't know and you just keep walking. And every time I have taken the time, whether it's, you know, on the street, in a bar, wherever it is, and you just start talking to someone, you're like, wow, man, this guy has a full story. And I think we all have our stories in life, and that's kind of what High Stakes is. It's about people playing high stakes in their lives. But look, the reality is not everyone's life is perfect. I don't even know what that looks like. I don't even know what perfect is. I mean, I think everybody goes through challenges, adversity, tragedy. And, you know, my job is to have the conversations with these people, bring it to you, and you kind of get to know them. So I've got Justin Lund on today. Justin, thanks for being here, brother.
Happy to be here, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you live in St. George, Utah, you said, which is a beautiful place. Tell me just kind of the audience, who you are, what you do.
Yeah. So, again, thanks for having me. And just a little quick background is I'm married for almost 25 years now. And I have 4 kids that go from 23 years old down to 15 years old. I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur. I love starting things. I love building things. I start way too many things, more than I finish, if I'm being honest. And I just love being in business, and I love working with other entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurs are a special kind of breed that, well, the way my wife says it is she looks at me sometimes puzzled and says, I don't know how the hell you do it. You get up, nobody's telling you what to do. Nobody gives you a schedule, an agenda, a to-do list, and you go at it like your life depends on it. She's like, if that was me, I'd get up and sit on the fucking couch. Like,
you know, dude, that's actually pretty funny when you think about it, because it's so true. Like when I'm at the gym, like I'm an early riser and I get up at the gym and I kind of think through my day, and I'm like formulating, like I'm going to take over the world that day. Like today's the day. And I'm like planning stuff out, and people are just, yeah, I'm in my phone typing notes and shit. And I'm just like, and It's like not even 6 o'clock yet. And I'm like, right. Why hasn't anyone emailed me yet? Like, what the hell's going on? It's like, it's still 6:05 a.m. Like, you know, and it's so true what you say, man. We operate on a different frequency, I guess is the best way to put it. Right.
That is totally the case. And while that's such a great skill and talent where you can use to get a lot of leverage, there's a downside to that. There's a dark side to that too. And that's kind of what I've been like. Life, the universe, God knows that I'm kind of stubborn, and I've gone through some lessons and learned. Sometimes I've learned from smarter people than me, and sometimes I've learned by being just a stubborn, ignorant ass the hard way. So,
you know, it's like I tell people, some days you're the bug, some days you're the windshield. That's just how it is in life, right? Yep. So let me ask you this: when people introduce you, right? They obviously list all your successes and your accolades and all this, but if I were to ask you, who is Justin without the resume? Like who are you? What would your answer be on that?
I would say that that's a great question, not one that I often get asked on podcasts, so I appreciate that. It's really about becoming a better. I'm a guy that strives to be better tomorrow than I was today, better today than I was yesterday. So it's really about self-development. Like I want to be a better version of me, and I want to finish this game whenever the clock stops, and know that I left it on the field, and not look back and say, shit, I wish I'd have done that. And that comes from a lot of chapters of life when I did look back and say, God, what was I thinking? You know, like, so I think that's how I would answer your question, Steve.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, Justin, I always tell people, like, to me, life is like a book, and books are made of chapters. Chapters
Yep.
begin and chapters end.
Yep.
There are good chapters, bad chapters, long chapters, short chapters, whatever we want to call it. But at some point that chapter ends. And listen, we could say our 20s were chapters, our 30s, maybe college, military,
Yeah.
good and bad. What do you think about people that carry those chapters through? Like, we all have the high school friends that still talk about high school football, right? I mean, everybody has them, but what do you think about people that do that? Are they stuck in the past because of fear, like of the future? Or do you think they like that moment in their life and they don't want to deal with reality?
I think that from my perspective, what I believe is we build walls with these attempts to keep us safe and secure.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it sneaks up on us, and those walls that we thought were going to protect us trap the shit out of us.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is going on. Is that, somebody in high school had a great football career and they haven't touched other than just the backyard. They haven't played football other than high school. So that's what they romanticize, because the rest of it isn't as pleasant. It isn't as good. And I think there's in Moneyball, there's this line, there's good teams, there's bad teams, there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us. Billy Beane says about the A's.
Yeah.
I like that line. My boys are big baseball fans, so they quote that movie verbatim. But I think underneath the 50 feet of our crap and why we might do things like that, it's a lack of clarity. There's fear and there's all kinds of shit that's attached to it, but we just don't know what the hell we want. We don't know how to pursue it because we don't really clarify what it is with any kind of specificity or certainty. And then we're smoked. Like, it's just hard to make any forward progress. So those walls just feel comfortable.
And I would say nowadays, and probably not as much growing up when I was growing up, but I think nowadays there's so much distraction. And I think focus is a big part of why people, they don't know where to go because of lack of focus, and look, entrepreneurs, you and I probably have challenges with focus, right? I mean, I think when we're dialed in on something, razor sharp focus. But when we're not dialed in, we're kind of, scanning the radar, scanning the horizon, if you will. At least that's my perception of it. I'm not sure what you think.
I totally agree with that. I think that on my kids' lives, the biggest threat to them accomplishing the goals that they have as youngsters is distraction. And I think as an entrepreneur that's been doing this for 25 years, I deal with it every single day. And like you said, when we get locked in, when we really get in, we can make some pretty kick-ass progress pretty fast. And it's like, whoa, what did you just do? On the other hand, if it's kind of this and kind of that, and I work with founders all the time, so they jump into this, they're sprinkling things all over the place. And when you get to the end of the day and you really stack up what you got done, it just doesn't feel good because you didn't get that much done at all, and that the distraction is a killer.
Yeah, very true. So on your journey, right, you've obviously had a lot of awards and accolades and pats on the back, but is there something in a moment in time or something that kind of no one knows about but changed your whole trajectory of where you were going?
Yeah, there's probably 2 or 3 real pivotal, massive course changes, and that they're very impactful. I'm happy to share any of those. I did just as soon as I said that, though, it made me think there's the little things that we stack up daily that tend to that have more of an impact than we think. And us humans, we like to hear about the big success stories. We like to hear about those big turning points for sure. But what matters most is usually the little dumb shit you do day over day over day over day. You go to the gym every morning, so that's why you look good and you're fit. You know what I mean? It's not, you don't go work your ass off for 7 hours straight until you're just about to die. No, it doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah.
So I think, really what changed the course of my life, the first of those chapters was when my father passed away when I was 19, and it was very unexpected. They were just my mom and his wife. My mom and dad were out on a little getaway for the weekend, and he left. And I talked to him on the phone for a few minutes, and then he was gone. And so that was just nobody was prepared for that because everything was good.
Sure.
And so that really got me thinking and really got me to reset some of the dumb decisions that I was trying to pursue, starting a business. I was a kid. I was 19. I didn't know anything that I was doing. But I came back and moved in with my mom because I was the only kid in the family not married at the time.
Okay.
And so I thought I'd be a companion to her for a while as she was grieving, and we'd kind of go through that together. And I began to become an intense reader. I would read a book in 2 days, and then I did that. And I lived with her for probably 9 months, and I read dozens, if not hundreds of books. And it gave me the opportunity to also I'd get bored with that in the afternoon, and I'd jump into the truck with my brothers I had a plumber, general contractor, a drywall contractor, and a framing and finish carpentry. So I had 4 brothers. They were all in the trades. And I'd go just kind of do ride-alongs with them for a while. And I'd do that 3 days a week for a few months. And they'd always tell me growing up, don't be a dumbass and work with your body because it wears out, use your brain. So I listened. I'd read books and get computers. But that opportunity to work with them, and I wasn't working. I wasn't doing much. I wasn't contributing much. But just seeing how they worked, seeing what was going on out there in the trades, I have a big respect for people that go out there and work so hard every single day. But I also saw some of the things that they were doing. Some of them got to be pretty successful, and they were running companies with 20 employees, and they'd bitch about everything all day, Steve. Like, they would drive around, and then they'd take phone calls, and they'd make their to-do list, and they'd get home. I'd be with them all day, and we'd go to lunch at a nice restaurant. Sometimes we'd sneak in a matinee movie in the afternoon, right?
Yeah.
Then we'd go home, and they would bitch to their wives about it's so busy and I got this going on. I'm like, man, that's not really the day I remember, Yeah. I thought it was kind of pretty cool. So I started developing something there that, instead of a to-do list, which stresses you guys out, you guys should keep a to-done list. I thought, I'm going to experiment with that. They're like, all right, pick me up tomorrow. I'm coming with you. I'm going to just keep track of the shit that you actually got done. And it did. It began to shape. They're like, oh, that's pretty cool. It also shined a light on what they weren't doing, and all that busyness really wasn't that. And it's that distraction that you were talking about a minute ago. They'd get the call and feel busy, but really not productive. So They would kind of offset that by always complaining about how busy they were. So that's when I started to work on some frameworks. That was one of those key moments for me.
So let me ask you a question. I'm curious, if you didn't choose the path you're on today, of who you are, of the Justin I'm sitting in front of today, where do you think you'd be right now?
Well, without some divine intervention, I'd be dead. And if not that, then I would probably be on a construction site somewhere in the same path that my brothers were on, and swinging a hammer, whether that was bending over and connecting pipes, or swinging a hammer, or putting doorknobs and trim around a door. Those were the things, or drywall. That's kind of the things that were always being done and talked about in my family. So I'd probably have followed them in that path.
Do you think, and again, I think this is important because I think entrepreneurs always have this, we'll call it a fork in the road or the why moment. Were there things that you had to let go of, beliefs, thoughts, to go this other direction? Because your family was going in this direction. So even though they were telling you not to, you're kind of seeing the path and the river's flowing that way. Were there things, and again, I don't think it's things that you had to do. Were there things that you had to let go of doing or thinking to make that other directional cut?
I think, again, that's an excellent question. Shortly after this chapter that we were just talking about, I got into sales and thought, I'm going to try to get better at this and see if I could go back to school. That thought was motivated by a cute girl that I was dating who wanted somebody that had a college degree, a 401k, and she actually wanted me to be a dentist for a while. I took a chemistry class even in college and said, okay, no, we got to talk. I can't. Chemistry, me, no. But sales was a way for me to pay for school, and I got pretty good at it pretty fast. I could work only 20 hours, 15 hours a week and bring in $1,700 to $2,500 a week as a college kid. And I'm like, wow, after a year and a half of doing that, I thought, I think I'm making about as much as my professors. I don't know if I want to keep going that route. And so that with that came drug use because on the sales floor, that's when I got into that behavior in those circles quite
Right.
a bit. Um, and so that, I guess I told you in the beginning, Steve, like it was God's grace and some knowing that I take things, I'm a little hard headed sometimes, a little stubborn.
Yeah.
This culminated in an early pregnancy. So that cute girl, I got pregnant. And so we started thinking about marriage plans, which started to develop then into a drug addiction because the pressure felt, and again, I'm 22-ish around this time. She wants me to be a 401k holding normal guy that goes to a job every day and is off
Right.
by 3 for 30 on Fridays. Um, and all of that. And then these drugs in the sales environment. I wanted to make money to try to buy the things that a stable person could buy. I thought that'll do it. I'm not going to be a 401k dentist, but maybe I can make enough money that she won't ever notice that that's not what I am. That all culminated in this addiction starting to grow and taking over my life. So back to your question, was there a moment or things that I had to let go of? I had to let go of like all that fake shit that I was doing for somebody else, that I was doing to try to check boxes, that I was doing that really, and I learned this in rehab, it was creating like a cognitive dissonance in my mind. My disconnect is I had these things, these passions, these desires that I wanted to pursue, but I had this life that I was living on the other hand. And those two things couldn't get along in the same brain, in the same head. So the way that I coped with that is I took prescription painkillers and started taking a lot of them. And it was that training that I got for 6 weeks in that rehab facility, which, I mean, I'm telling the story a little romantically. It's not like I'm like, hey, I need help, I'm going to go check in. No, I got arrested. I hit rock bottom. I got arrested again a second time. I'm like, okay. I realize there's only rehab or prison. And hopefully if I do rehab, there won't be prison. So it was fingers crossed. That's my strategy. And that's what landed me there. But when I got there, I was like, okay, let's fucking dig in. That's when I began to let go of some of those behaviors and thoughts. And I began to learn really more about myself in that situation.
So let me ask you, Justin, and I hope you're okay talking about this. I think it's helpful for a lot of the audience. What caused you not to fail once you set on that path? Because, listen, fear of going to prison, I'm sure all of us will fucking swear off everything that we can not to go. Down the road, things start getting lax. You start getting back with your circle of friends. Like, what did you have to change, right? Did you change your circle? Did you change your mindset? Like, you had to become a different person because I'm guessing the person you were was not going to be the person that I'm talking to today. How do you go through that?
1,000%. Such a good question. And it's actually built into the coaching curriculum that I work with my clients on today. Nice. See, a lot of us look at setting goals and we try to get clear on those goals. And we talked about that. Like the clarity sometimes can be a big obstacle. In rehab, they do something that's akin. It's like setting goals. Like seriously, when I'm going through rehab, I'm like, shit, I know all this stuff. I read all the Tony Robbins books, man. I got this is very familiar to me. And then it came to a part that was not familiar to me. And that was creating the transition plan. So after about 3 or 4 weeks in, they're like, okay, you're doing great. Everything's awesome. But that's because you're in a controlled environment. So like you said, like you're going to be faced with new temptations. You're going to go out into the world and you're going to get into old circles, triggers, all this stuff. So what they taught me that I hadn't known is plan for your worst day just as much as you plan for your best day. And that changed it all. It was like, oh, it made you just stop in your tracks. And I did. And I stopped and I thought about it. And I started to create a plan that if this happens, expect this reaction and have a different path. So they gave me a really cool metaphor that I use. I think about this shit probably daily, if not like multiple times. They pointed out to a mountain. I'm in northern Utah in this rehab facility in the foothills of these big towering peaks. And I said, imagine that mountain and trying to drive your sedan car up over that mountain right there. It would be pretty tough. There's no road. It's straight up. You got rocks, trees, boulders, ravines, crevices. If you made it to the top, you'd look back and you'd see the kind of the collateral damage you've left behind. You're going to leave a mark. Going down the mountain and then back up the next time is going to be significantly easier. So when you first decided to do drugs or to do lie, cheat, gamble, steal, whatever kind of goes against your values, that first time doing it took a lot of effort, just like driving that car up over the mountain. It wasn't easy. You had to fight and justify and rationalize your way through it, but you did it. And once you did, the connections were made. The synaptic connections were established, and now there was a path.
Right.
You did it again. You did it again. Add 5 years to that process daily. We don't have just a path. We have a 6-lane superhighway paved in HOV. We've got the whole thing. And that is kind of like your default mode now. So you've got to build new roads. Now, the good news is in your brain, that circuitry doesn't go away. So if you want to get a stimulus, for an example, I go out and see a friend that I always did drugs with before. That's going to fire these two synaptic connections to want to get together and get the reaction that they've been getting for years.
Right.
But I got to fight my way through creating a different path. And once I do that connection, it's already there from before. I had a connection with that friend before there was drug use involved. So now I just have to, there's rocks on that road. There's trees growing up through, the asphalt's kind of broken up, But as I start driving back and forth on that road, it starts to become, the other one starts to get some dust and then some rocks and then some trees. And this new one becomes paved. And so I remembered that, and I planned for the good days. I planned for the bad days, and the bad days came. There were times that I was a shitbag for years to my wife now, and she wants to kill me. We got 2 kids, and we're sleeping on my mom's floor with our babies. Not great. She's going to work at Walmart as a cashier to make like $9.75 an hour, and I'm trying to start a business now, fresh out of rehab, and I haven't made $1 for a year. And she that doesn't foster loving kindness and but that's the cool part, Steve, is they taught me how to plan for that. So when I started to feel all the emotional reactions that I was using previously to just run out and grab some drugs, I had different pathways. It wasn't easy, but I knew the pathways and I reinforced the pathways, and then they became the default.
So in your coaching that you coach people, are there very similar parallels that you see? Maybe not drugs, but as far as people's patterns and habits and things that you have to reprogram them on?
Yes, 100%. And sometimes it is drugs or drinking or something else that we blow off, some steam, or we just kind of get a little space from the chaos of the day. But absolutely, it's that same concept. And it's neuroscience, right? It's synaptic connections that are just being made. And once that connection is made and then it's established, and and pretty soon there's these fibers that are pretty thick, compared to others that are non-existent or just one-time fires. Right. So taking those and kind of reprogram different things. The way to do it is to get leverage. It's to bring awareness first, leverage second. So if we can get leverage and figure out what it's costing us to go down that road, then usually we can disrupt that enough and create an alternative.
Is there a certain time frame that it takes, or is it the desire of the person, or what is the formula for someone to change? I mean, I think first is you got to want to change. I think at some level, right? Yeah. And is it the amount of force you apply towards them? Is it the amount of force they push back on? What constitutes when you meet someone and you're like, this is going to be a shit show, or you're like, okay, I think I could do something with this person. What is it that you see that you're like, okay, there's indicators, there's markers here?
There's a lot of telltale signs. I love your questions. They're awesome. They're different than most. So yeah. I love how you're digging in. There's a lot of telltale signs that I can see right away. A lot of people will talk about their team, or they'll talk about the lack of being able to find a team. I just can't find good people. I'm like, okay, do you have competitors? Yes. Who's competing against you? They tell me. How's their team? Oh, they're kick ass. I'm like, Interesting. So there's something. And that's how I try to put a little crack in their shell, right? If I can ask questions in a different way, and they're like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. If they can start to see some of the folly in their narrative, then they might start taking pause. There was one of my clients who, in order to make this work, she didn't have time. That's another big thing. That's a key. I just don't have time for that. I don't have time. And this woman had 7 employees. She was doing all of their jobs. And after I started talking to her, she's like, well, I was in the office Saturday vacuuming and cleaning up all the offices. I'm like, hold on. What? Say that again? So I grabbed top line revenue, and gross margin rather, and did a calculation. I said, okay, here's the full-time hours, and this is how many hours you work in a week. Do you follow? She's like, 52. Yeah, okay, I got it. Okay, great. Now, your revenue is this. And so we divided that up. So here's your hourly rate. And I showed her the screen. She's like, shut the fuck up. Like, I mean, you just watched me do the math. It was $400. So she was like, $400. I said, okay, now you spent 4.5 hours in your office on Saturday vacuuming. Let me ask you, do you think there's someone in LA that could clean your office as good as you, or maybe better than you, or even just like 85% as good as you, that would do it for $20 an hour? And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? Of course. I said, okay. Bear with me. Stay with me now. Do you think you'd be doing them and their family a service and help them by giving her the 4 hours at $20 an hour to come and clean your office? Can you picture the person doing that? And do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? And she's like, I gotta go. She's like, she left, but it transformed things fast, Steve, because she had a realization quickly that there was about 90% of the shit that she was doing that was not things that she should be doing. And so over the next few months, she grew her revenue, and now she's like got offers for companies buying her out because it was all hinged on her, owner, operator, doing everything, right? So she had a good business. Sometimes she could make payroll, sometimes she couldn't, but always a mess. And then as soon as she made that switch, it was the first domino that fell, which allowed her to get people in that. There's this fun saying that I like to repeat a lot. Like, there's people that play at the things you work at, right? Like, there's some of the ladies that work here in our office. I'll say, hey, let's get together and have a barbecue and just kind of bring the team together. We'll come over to my house, be the pool and everything. Let's do it before it gets too cold. And they're like, okay, great. They'll turn around to their computer. They open Microsoft Excel. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, we're going to plan a barbecue. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
But I love it because you won't catch me doing that shit in 1,000 years. I will never go party inside of Microsoft Excel. That's not a good time for me.
Yeah. And I think that, listen, I've learned that if I said, hey, Justin, stop doing stupid shit. Like, you're doing $10 tasks, not $10,000 decisions. You're going to go, Steve, I am important. I do important things. But when you say it, and so what I have people do is I have them do a time study for 2 weeks. And I'm like, boom. You tell me, are you doing low level, low enjoyment tasks? Are these $10 tasks or $10,000 decisions? It's very simple. Just put the number next to it. If you think sweeping is a $10,000 decision, I would love to see that fucking floor, because I think we're going to have, but when they do it, they come back and they're like, Steve, I think I'm doing low level tasks. I'm like, you think so, huh?
Yeah.
But again, it's like you said, like, they have to see it, right? You can say all day long, they have to be aware of it. And I think that's great that you do that, because, it's sometimes being 3 feet away, you're the smartest person in the room. Not that you know their business, but you're just seeing things, objectively. You've got no skin in the game. You're just looking at it.
Reacting to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you today, if we were to look at you today, what is the version of you? What success are you chasing now? Like, what is that version of you today?
Good question. I recently set with my team a goal to impact 50,000 small business owners. Okay. And so I guess to your question, the answer is to have more of an impact. I've gone through many different chapters in my book so far, and hopefully I still have plenty to go.
Right.
But what I really feel called to do is to take some of these lessons that have been very expensive, that have almost cost me my life, my marriage, my businesses, and just say, guys, let me tell you my story and give you some of the, I have playbooks for this stuff. Like, I learned systems in rehab. I learned systems to scale. I started a business after rehab that grew into just south of 9 figures. And I was able to exit that and take 12 years to raise my kids out in the woods. Awesome. And that process, working with mentors and people that played at the things that I struggled and worked with, I was able to grow so much faster than I should have, than I'm capable of. But I figured out, with the help of good mentors and coaches, how to stay in my lane and how to build the systems to inspect what to expect from the other people's lanes. And having gone through that roller coaster, I see so many other people, like one of my clients right now, he said to me, he's like, I've been stuck for 10 years within about $100,000 of revenue. It's about $3 million, but it's 3.1, 2.9, right? He's done that. He's done it for 10 years. He's like, I think I could figure it out. But the reason I'm working with you is I just don't want to take 20 more years. And I think that's what it would take. So if I can help just kind of bring some awareness to him, I can make a video or do a podcast or an interview where somebody says, yeah, I think I should do a time audit too. Sweet. Let's do that. Like, listen to that story, because that is the thing that distraction of sweeping the floors is going to keep you from pulling that $10,000 lever. And then you're just not getting the results you're capable of. So that's my mission.
Yeah, I think it's great. And listen, I think you and I both agree on the fact that, it's not the cost of action, it's the cost of inaction. And, I tell people all the time, you're going to pay the bill either way. You're either going to pay in time or you're going to pay in money. And when you get coaching, like with you or even myself, you're buying the thousands of mistakes that entrepreneurs before you have made.
Yep.
So you don't make them. I mean, it's when you think about it, it's like you can bang your head against the wall, or someone can say, hey, dumbass, if you go left a little bit, you won't hit the wall anymore and you'll get there faster. But if you don't know that, you're going to keep banging your head against the wall because you just don't know. It's not that it's the tax of ignorance. It's that people, it's not that they can't do it. They just haven't been given the roadmap. And it sounds like you have the roadmap to show them how to do this from what you're saying.
Right. And that, so you think of it like one of the telltale signs that I hear from people that are kind of stuck in that. And what I call that is a capacity ceiling. They've reached a capacity, right? And that usually comes as a result of somebody starting out, they hang their shingle out to start a business. They wear all the hats. They're customer service, they're installs and delivery, they do everything, billing, the whole 9 yards. It gets them to level 1.0. They go from starting to here. And they think more of that will get me to level 2.0. And it literally is not. It's that behavior will keep you trapped and spiral you back down towards the floor. And then they live in this comfort zone. It's like a thermostat. The AC kicks on at one level, the heat kicks on at another. So they just bounce around, shifting priorities and focus. When you do have a roadmap, you can begin to leverage some of those things that can get you into level 2.0. And a lot of guys, like you said, they can figure it out. Guys, gals, you can all figure it out. It's just how fast do you want to figure it out? Do you want to learn that lesson? Right. Do you want to get there?
Listen, I think you and I very much probably align with the fact that last time I checked, they print more money. They don't print a 25th hour in the day. So which one do you want to speed up?
Right.
I would say use the money as the tool to, I don't think you're investing time because you don't get time back. You don't invest 24 and get 25 hours, but it's the time freedom is allowing you to create memories, right? In my opinion.
Totally. And it gives you the opportunity. So if your trap is, I never have time, but you have the trust in yourself that I can solve this problem. If I can figure it out, but you don't have time to ever jump in and figure it out because you're always putting out fires. The very definition of that is eternally, I'm fucked,
totally.
So you've got to figure out a way to do that. So what I like to do, just like you, is to start with an audit of time. I look at where time is going. And my goal is to try to give somebody the impression that I'm actually giving them time back. And the way I do that is by automating, delegating, and eliminating some of the basic things. So if they feel, obviously we all have the same amount of time, but if they feel like they get an extra 7 or 8 hours back in a week after a couple months, that shit is measurable. Huge. That feels huge, right? Yeah. Now you can go to your kid's little league game. Now you can go get a massage. Now you can work on the business and actually start solving bigger problems.
Yeah. Let me ask you. So let's just take you today and you, let's say 5 years ago. I think a lot is with virtual assistants, AI, technology, all that stuff. It's, it's not even doubling. It's picking up. It's faster and faster. Is there any advice that maybe you used to give 5 years ago that now you're like, probably not the way I would go today in today's world? If I was a client of yours 5 years ago and I walked into the door today, would you give me the same, not the principles probably would be the same.
Yeah.
But the tools, would you change the tools, I guess?
I definitely would change the tools because the leverage you get with AI, and so there are new things now that I've added that make sitting right here is a little tripod that holds my phone, because every time I do something multiple times, I turn the phone on and I record it and I talk through it, and I can use AI to make a playbook like that.
That's awesome.
So those are the main things that I've changed in the last 5 years, is encouraging to fail faster. Like just getting people over this idea that, just throw together a playbook. And they're like, I'm not really good with systems. I don't know things like, I'm like, dude, trust me, just try this. And just giving them a blueprint for how to create something. That's the biggest change that I've made over the last 5 years. And it's tectonic plate shifting big. Like it moves a lot fast.
Let me ask you this. Is there something, we can even go back to your challenges with substance abuse, or even when you were younger. Is there something that a truth that today, again, I'll go with the Justin of today, that you kind of wish you knew earlier, that you wish somebody would have told you earlier?
Yeah, I think the biggest impactful thing that I know now that I didn't know in those days is those small, consistent actions. That the compounding, the way the hockey stick grows, I didn't know that. I was young, I was ambitious, but I was also impatient. And I think there's some strengths to that, but at the same time, I could have been impatient and consistent. And that's what I wish I would have known. And so my nephew came over to me in the gym, and he's always got his AirPods in, and I see him once in a while in the gym, and he comes over, pulls one AirPod out, and he's like, "Oh, hey, bro, wanted to ask you, like, what do you think is the secret for me to get rich? Like, I've got some money in the thing." And I'm like,
I got like 5 minutes, so if you can give that to me between sets, that'd be great.
Exactly. And I'm like, maybe a little bit bigger conversation. And I gave him a couple books and some things. I said, call me anytime, dude. And then as he walked away, I went, this is what I came back to. I went and I said, take that shit out of your ear. I'm like, dude, you need to remember to do something just like you come to the gym every day. Put $1 in the bank, put 10% of every check, like figure out the actions that you can do every day, every week, consistently. And then, keep dreaming big. And let's talk about investment moves and things that you can do with money, but don't underestimate compounding returns with consistency. That. I didn't get that when I was 25, and I wish I would have. That'd be fantastic.
So, and just a couple more questions, and we'll start rounding this out. I'm just curious, like, for you today, like, what we talked about the book and the chapter in the beginning, like, what chapter are you in now? Like, part of your life, what do you look at? What are you working towards?
Yeah, I think I love. So I started. I was in the last chapter was doing administrative bookkeeping and payroll, because I noticed a need from a friend who called that. I had accountants and professionals working for me, and she wanted to start a business, and it was this huge load off. And we accidentally stumbled into 50, like literally inside of a year, we had 50 accounts that we were doing books and accounting from Manhattan to Maui and everything in between. And so we did that. I liked that we gave people assurances and we gave them peace to kind of stay in their own lane. They got rid of the admin BS that they didn't like. But what I really learned there is how much I love helping the founders break out of their limitations that are in their brain. So I don't like the spreadsheets. I don't like the QuickBooks, but there's people that do that we can help, we can help them. But my focus now, this chapter is all about contribution and giving back. Like, how can I help others? How can I shortcut that process? Because again, if I could help somebody at 22 or 23 learn the power of consistency, and they can implement that into their business, and then start learning how to shrink the time gap, so that instead of taking 5 or 10 years to figure something out, they can do it in 6 months. That's gigantic. So I really want to have an impact. That's my chapter heading this year, is impact. So
just a couple more questions. I'm just very curious, because I love this conversation. Thank you for this.
Yeah, me too.
If you're talking to someone, the younger version that's in survival mode, not even younger, just somebody who's trying to figure this out, and they're just, they're hand to mouth, and they're not sure what's going to come tomorrow. I don't want to know about encouragement. What is the truth that they need to hear?
You got to inspect what you expect of yourself and of others. And if you're caught in this race and you're hand to mouth, like you say, you're unable, you don't see the light of day, then there's something leaking. It's your time, your money. If you have a team, it's human resources. And I bet you could come back to there's no one inspecting what the expected output should be. So don't overwhelm yourself and do everything all at once. Just fucking pick one thing. Pick your time and monitor where that goes. And then call Steve. He'll show you how those things, you'll see where that works and how you can get leverage. Because so a lot of people, they feel that way. And what I like to go to is looking at time, like you said, and then I jump into the admin and I have a delegation pyramid. Because a lot of guys say, look, I've tried hiring people, or I have 4 people now anymore, and I just wouldn't have any time. I couldn't do anything. I'm like, that means you're not really inspecting what you expect very well. You're not leading that very well. So I have a delegation priority pyramid that a lot of people's mistakes and pain come from hiring out of order. Like they may hire, maybe a plumber out there jumps to a journeyman. Like they're jumping right up to frontline person or even a manager. They want a foreman. They want to hire a foreman, but they're still doing payroll and bookkeeping and trying to struggle through the quotes and everything that's admin and back office first. And that's just out of whack. You develop the skills with human resource development by starting on the bottom. And so that's a truth that I would say, just start inspecting something and measuring it. Because if you don't measure something, you're screwed. It's all just gobbledygook in your head, and we can't trust our psychology to give us straight answers.
Yeah, I like that. I probably come a little bit more harsh. I tell people nobody cares. Do it anyways. I mean, and again, I know I tell people I can be nice or I can be honest. The reality is you still got to do it. And I tell people all the time, like, you've got people relying on you, whether it's family, employees, yourself. Nobody cares. Like, you still got to get up every morning. You got to show up for yourself. You have to care more than anyone else. And that's to me the reality. You have to be the one that says, I'm getting up because I care. And no one's going to pat you on the back. They may say, oh, Justin, sorry about your problems, but they have their own problems in life.
Yeah.
And they're going to move on with their life, and they're going to do what they need to do. And you're either going to be part of the solution or part of the problem. And I think, sadly, everybody's waiting for someone to come scoop them up. And at the end of the day, it doesn't work that way. I wish it was not that way, but I think that's, especially in entrepreneurship. I mean, you and I know that it is rough. It is rough out there. The seas are angry some days, And
there's no safety net. I mean, you just got to deal with it, right?
You just got to deal with it. Absolutely.
You're absolutely right. And I've been getting into that with one of the more recent journeys and chapters, a few chapters that I've been through, is creating content. Like, I took 12 years off and I moved to the woods. And Steve, I changed my phone numbers, email address. I mean, I was off the radar, and I took my kids to school every single day for 12 years.
That is cool.
And it was cool, but then I started to kind of drift a little bit. I had a big beard and I looked like a mountain man.
That guy.
Yeah. I put on quite a few pounds from where I am today. I'll tell you that too. And I was drifting. Then I thought I need to get back and make some contributions. And to do that, now this world requires content. So I had to get on camera and figure out that whole thing. And for the first 3 months, I was like, this is terrible. And then 6 months, it's not like I still enjoy it or think it's fun, but I thought so many people would care that the way I sounded, the way I looked, the way this, or did my head get too polished today, whatever. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. What I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, they're dealing with their own things, and we all have to deal with our own things. And I think you're absolutely spot on that if you can adopt that idea that nobody's coming to save me, it's up to me. Now I've got a place to start, right? From that starting place, I have some power. I'm empowered. And I'll come back to one more thing that I think one of those other truths is you can't do shit if you're not taking care of yourself. So 100%. You have to have some base level. Don't use it as an excuse to go be crazy. But if you are in a toxic, bad state, then how are you going to give to your team, to your family, to your customers, to your vendors? Everything just drops as the tide goes, Yeah,
100%. Justin, this has been a great conversation, probably a little different than you expected. If
Yeah,
somebody
totally.
wants to if somebody wants to talk to you and learn about your coaching and what you do, how do they find you?
Yeah, the best place is probably Instagram or any of the socials. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. I think everything is all at It's Justin Lund. That's probably the best way. But yeah, just come over, check out the content, give me the feedback. I'd love to hear anything there. I've got a playbook to help with you. If you are a founder and you're feeling like some of this stuff resonates and you're stuck, I got a 4 or 5 page Google Doc to kind of just get you started, get you measuring things, get you started. It's yours. Just come over and say, shoot me the word Steve Freedom.
Easy.
And I'll know that you heard me on Steve's program and we'll hook you up. And it's just one of my books, one of the playbooks that we use here.
Oh, that's great, man. I appreciate that. And I'm sure you'll get some people that want to, better their lives and get more connected with you. So listen, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know my questions are a little bit off center, but they're,
I love it. No, it's great. I absolutely love it. I'd come back anytime. This is fun.
I appreciate it. So everybody, on behalf of Justin and myself, want to thank you for watching, listening. If you like this, make sure you subscribe, share it, do whatever you got to do. Again, we're here to help other entrepreneurs, other people that may be stuck. You may know someone who needs this message. Share it with them. Send it to them. That's all we ask. That's our bill that we charge for this. So on behalf of Justin and myself, thanks for another episode of High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg, and we will catch you next week with another episode. See you guys then.